Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new sports bit video. So for today's NBA video, we're going to be talking about the Brooklyn Nets versus Milwaukee Bucks series. So yesterday was game 4 and Milwaukee won the series. So now the series is tied at 2 apiece. But the major headline coming out of that game 4 was Kyrie Irving's injury. And it was when he went up for a shot and he came down and he landed on Giannis's foot and he twisted his ankle and it looked kind of bad. It didn't look like it was, something that he was going to come back immediately from. It looked like a bad injury, so definitely concern for the Brooklyn Nets. And as you can tell, I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan. I'm wearing my Brooklyn Nets shirt. Definitely not something I'm happy with because I'm also once like a Brooklyn Nets fan and also a big Kyrie fan. So it was definitely not something that I was happy about. And already with James Harden injured, the big three is now down to a big one. So it's kind of just Kevin Durant versus Giannis. So we'll see how the Nets go through with this because Kevin Durant is the best remaining player in the playoffs right now. He's also a top 2 player in the entire league.
Over Kawhi?
I think Kevin Durant's better
Joel
than Kawhi.
Embiid?
I think Kevin Durant's better than Kawhi.
Over Joel Embiid?
I think he's the best player remaining. I think he's a top 3 player in basketball. Top 2. I think Steph Curry's a better player, and then Kevin Durant.
LeBron maybe, and then KD?
I think Steph, I have a number 1, and then I probably have KD at 2 or 3, depending on where you see LeBron James. But yeah, I have Kevin Durant.
Okay, yeah, keep going.
All right, so yeah, this is really Kevin Durant's time now to prove that he is one of the best players in the entire league. Because the whole narrative around Kevin Durant is, oh, he needs a super team. He needs stars to play against him. And obviously those are valid, things you can say against Kevin Durant. Yeah, right. He paired up with Kyrie Irving, and then recruited James Harden and Blake Griffin to join him in Brooklyn. He joined a 73-win team in Golden State, right? So obviously those are valid, but this is his time to show that, hey, I'm still one of the best players in the league, and I can lead a team without any superstars next to me. So this is his opportunity to change the narrative around his name. Now, another thing the Brooklyn Nets could possibly do is rush James Harden back. I don't think that's what they wanted to do, and that game 3 loss is pivotal in this case, right? Because if the Nets were able to find a way to win game 3, they would be up 3-1 right now instead of 3-2, which means you can hold James Harden back if there's a game 7, and then if there's a game 7, you bring him in then. But now the Nets might have to bring him back to like 3 games earlier than they would have liked him to be back. Now, they might rush him. We'll see. If the Nets definitely lose game 5, then he's definitely coming back in game 6. But I think if I had to make a prediction, I think Harden does come back game 5 because he wants a ring more than anyone on this roster, right? He's been a superstar. He's been eliminated in the playoffs many times, especially running into the Golden State Warriors super team. So, he wants a ring probably as bad as anyone on this team, maybe the exception of Blake Griffin, who also wants a ring really badly, right? That's why those 2 guys came to Brooklyn. So I feel like James Harden not just going to watch on the sideline and just watch his team kind of fall apart. I think he comes into action, and I think he helps Kevin Durant maybe try to get a game in Brooklyn and then maybe try to close out the series. But it's definitely not looking good right now with Kyrie's injury because, who knows? Maybe he comes back game 7, but that's just wishful thinking because if you look at the injury, and I'm sure it's all over social media, so if you haven't seen it, you can probably see it on Instagram or Twitter or somewhere. But, that injury did not look good at all. Like, he was in significant pain after the injury as well. So, it's just
ankle.
It's just me being hopeful at this point that he comes back in this series if there is a game 7. But I honestly think he's done for this series. I don't think they rush him back. Because there was a game in 2000, like the 2000 finals, where Kobe got injured in game 2, I believe it was, where he already hurt his ankle pretty badly, and he came back in game 4. But that's obviously Kobe Bryant. You really can't compare anyone to Kobe's mentality. But I don't know. It's just being wishful at this point. But this is really Milwaukee's time, right? Because they've been eliminated in the playoffs the last couple of years. People called Giannis, that he's just a regular season player, that the Milwaukee Bucks are just a regular season team. And this year the Nets were supposed to beat them, at least on paper. The Nets had a better team when healthy. Now this might be Milwaukee's team where they catch a break with these injuries and they move on. They can possibly reach to the finals. But this is Milwaukee's chance now with the injuries. But maybe Harden comes back, who knows?
I just have a few things to touch upon because Shivam said a lot of the stuff I was going to say. for the Bucks, I think this is the best opportunity that they've had since Giannis became a superstar, right? I think the last year in the bubble against Miami, like, they didn't perform well, and even before that against the Raptors, like, they went up 2-0 and then they choked the next 4 games. I think this is really important, and this is a blessing for both Giannis, like you mentioned. People will consider him to be, a regular season player. He wins MVP, but he doesn't win in the playoffs, and that's obviously a valid concern. And also that his game doesn't translate well to the playoffs, right? He can't shoot 3-pointers, can't shoot free throws. His offensive bag, I guess you could say, is a little bit lacking, especially when the game, the pace slows down in the playoffs drastically. And so the kind of fast break, like the kind of sprinting that Giannis is known for, isn't as effective. So he has to kind of learn to play around that, and like that's kind of why his productivity drops in the playoffs, right? That's a valid concern. And also for Mike Budenholzer, he's, again, similar to Giannis. He's considered a great regular season head coach, but he doesn't know his style of play, right? The Bucks style of play. Doesn't really translate well into the playoffs, especially with Giannis and his lack of offensive playmaking. I also think he is known for his deep flaw in terms of like play-up matchups and also mid-series adjustments. Like, he's not been making them very well, and he's been getting concerns and complaints, like valid complaints about that. Like, people are calling for his job, and I think that if the Bucks go on to lose the series, especially now that 2 stars are injured, like, his head is on the line, right? His job's on the line. He will probably get fired. So
if they don't win this series, he's probably gonna go out.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm expecting the Milwaukee Bucks to win the series. I actually differ from Shivam in this. I don't think neither Kyrie nor Harden are actually going to play in Game 5. I think it's going to be a solo effort similar to what we saw in the second half of Game 4 from Kevin Durant. And this is really, again, Kevin Durant's it's a legacy game, right?
Yeah.
I know, like, I hate to put, like, that type of title on someone who's, like, so, like, established, right? He's a great player, top 12 all time, one of the best scorers ever. But, like Shivam said, the points that are made about him, like joining superstar teams, he had a superstar team in OKC, he had a superstar team in Golden State, and he made one again in Brooklyn. It's to kind of show, like, does he have that LeBron capability? Can he do what LeBron did in, like, the late 2000s with the Cavs? Can he do what he did in the late 2010s with the Cavs, like the 2018 playoff run, right? Can he do that without, supporting players injured? Also in the 2015 finals. Can he, at least make it competitive? Can he win a series with having his top players injured or just not having them at all? So I think this is kind of to see if Kevin Durant can kind of break into that upper echelon, like, kind of like show that he can carry, like, an offensive load, a team like LeBron can. But necessarily, I don't think he's that type of player. Not saying he's not great. I just don't think he's like LeBron or, like, Jordan or, like, that kind of upper echelon great.
His play style doesn't really translate to that kind of thing.
He's not a great playmaker. His defense has waned, obviously, because of the Achilles. He needs a playmaker next to him, right? I feel like that's kind of what made him work so well with Harden and Kyrie. They were both playmakers, Harden more. I think him and Curry were so great because Curry was the playmaker for that team, and also Draymond Green. I think Kevin Durant necessarily can't carry this Nets team without Kyrie and Harden. I don't think none of the two are going to play in Game 5. I think the Nets are going to lose Game 5. I think PJ Tucker played great defense, although it was a little bit more physical, right? But you can't really complain about the level of defense because everyone knows in the playoffs, right? Defensive pressure increases, the refs let you get away with more, you can be more physical. That's just how the game is played. So necessarily, I don't think PJ Tucker will be able to get away with all of that stuff that he did in Game 4, but I think most of it is fine. I just think there are a couple of things that the refs might call, but other than that, I think he played great defense on him. I struggle to think how KD can carry this team, so I have him losing Game 5, right? And I think it's definitely possible that Harden will return in Game 6. I think it's almost like 100% if they're down 3-2.
Yeah, if they're down 3-2, yeah.
Yeah, I think they can win Game 6, but I think then it'll be a toss-up, really, between the Bucks and the Nets in Game 7.
I mean, it all depends on how healthy Harden really is. If it comes down to a game 6 or 7.
That's true, and also like,
yeah.
I mean, if I'm wrong and if KD can carry them in game 5, like, I mean, props to him, but I just don't think he can, right?
Yeah,
Unless Milwaukee shoots really poorly, I just don't see it happening. I mean, they've been shooting poorly and it's still 2-2. So yeah, I just have more confidence in the Nets team than I do in Kevin Durant. I mean, I get more confidence in the Bucks team than Kevin Durant.
And also, if Kevin Durant is going to carry this team, he's going to need help from his supporting players. And Joe Harris kind of just went cold in Milwaukee. Like, he went 1 for 11 in that game 3. I don't know his numbers in game 4, but he really didn't play like the league leader in 3-point percentage shooting this season. So he needs to step it up. So does Blake Griffin. He needs to have. I don't expect him to have the type of game he had in game 1 all the time, but at least he needs to be better. So yeah, if Kevin Durant's going to have to carry this team, he's going to need some help from his supporting players.
Kevin Durant hasn't been playing that well this series. Like, people like to praise him for being efficient, and he definitely was in Golden State. Like, he was probably the most efficient player in the playoffs for 2017 and 2018. But looking at like this series, like, he's shooting 46% from the field. He's shooting below 35% from 3. Like, having all that defensive focus on him, like, that's just not his game, right? That's why he struggled to win with Westbrook, because Westbrook couldn't shoot, so defense is focused on KD. And then when KD went to Golden State with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, he flourished because, you know, I'm going to be honest, like, teams prioritize defending Curry more than KD. That's just how it is. Teams game plan for Curry, not KD. And that's why KD, his playoff numbers in OKC dipped dramatically compared to regular season, but in Golden State, they rose, right? It's the fact that Kevin Durant needs shooters, he needs playmakers. He's not a LeBron, Curry kind of guy, right? So I just don't have too much faith in him.